Imagine waking up one morning to find that your entire digital world has vanished. No Instagram to check what your friends are doing, no TikTok to scroll through during breakfast, no Snapchat streaks to maintain. For millions of French teenagers under 15, this woe won't be just imagination, it's going to be their reality star. In September 2026, France has just announced one of the most radical digital policies in the world, a complete ban on social media for children under 15. No exceptions, no parental override, nothing. And this decision is sending shockwaves across the entire globe. Let me tell you about Sophia, a 13-year-old from Paris. Like most kids her age, she spends about 3 hours a day on social media. She follows fashion influencers, shares photos with friends, and feels like she's part of something bigger. But in less than 2 years, all of that will disappear for her. The French government isn't asking parents to decide. They're not suggesting screen time limits. They're pulling the plug entirely. This isn't about being cautious. This is France declaring war on big tech's influence over children. So what exactly is happening here? The French Parliament has passed legislation that will prohibit anyone under the age of 15 from creating or maintaining accounts on major social media platforms. We're talking about Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, YouTube in certain capacities, and virtually every other platform where kids currently spend their time. The law requires these tech companies to implement strict age verification systems, and if they fail to comply, they're looking at massive fines that could run into millions of euros. But here's what makes this really interesting. Parents won't be able to give permission for their kids to bypass this ban. Even if a mother or father thinks their 14-year-old is mature enough to handle social media responsibly, it won't matter. The state is overriding parental choice entirely. Now you might be wondering, why is France doing this? What evidence do they have that that's so compelling that they're willing to take such an extreme step? The answer lies in a growing mountain of research that's been piling up over the past decade. French lawmakers point to studies showing alarming rates of anxiety, depression, and self-harm among young people that correlate directly with social media use. They're re-looking at data showing that children who spend more than 3 hours a day on social platforms are twice as likely to experience mental health issues. They're seeing reports of cyberbullying that has driven some young people to take their own lives. They're witnessing the rise of dangerous viral challenges that have resulted in injuries and deaths. They're concerned about the impact of endless comparison culture, where teenagers measure their worth against impossibly curated feeds of influencers and peers. But it goes deeper than mental health. The French government is also worried about something more insidious than manipulation of young minds. Social media algorithms are designed to be addictive. They're engineered by some of the smartest people in Silicon Valley to keep users scrolling, watching, and engaging for as long as possible. And these algorithms don't care that their users are children with developing brains, who are especially vulnerable to manipulation. French officials argue that allowing tech companies to have unrestricted access to children is like inviting cigarette companies into elementary schools. They see it as a public health crisis that requires government intervention. There's also the issue of data privacy and exploitation. Every like, every comment, every second spent watching a video is data that tech companies collect, analyze, and monetize. Children under 15 are essentially being turned into products, their behaviors tracked and their preferences sold to advertisers, often without them or their parents fully understanding what's happening. France is saying enough is enough. But here's where this gets really complicated and controversial. Critics of this ban are coming from all directions, and they're raising some serious concerns. First, there's the question of enforcement. How exactly do you verify someone's age online? Current methods are notoriously unreliable. Kids are resourceful. They've been lying about their age to access websites since the internet began. Are we expecting facial recognition technology? Government ID verification? Both of these solutions raise massive privacy concerns. Do we really want to create a surveillance system where everyone needs to prove their identity to access social media? Some critics argue that the cure might be worse than the disease. Then there's the issue of digital literacy and social exclusion. In today's world, social media isn't just entertainment, it's how young people communicate, organize study groups, share information, and stay connected. By banning children under 15 from these platforms, are we creating a digital divide that will leave them isolated from their peers? What about the 15-year-old who can use social media freely while their 14-year-old sibling cannot? Some educators argue that instead of banning social media, we should be teaching children how to use it responsibly, just as we teach them to navigate other aspects of life safely. There's also a fundamental philosophical question at stake here about parental rights and government overreach. Many parents are uncomfortable with the state telling them how to raise their children. They argue that decisions about technology use should be made within families, not imposed by legislation. Some see this as a slippery slope. If the government can ban social media for children, what else might they decide to control in the name of protection? But France isn't backing down, and they're not alone in this fight. The French government points to data from their own pilot programs and studies showing that when screen time is reduced, children's mental health, academic performance, and social relationships improve dramatically. They reference the fact that other countries are watching closely and considering similar measures. Australia has already announced plans for a ban affecting children under 16. Several U.S. states are exploring age restrictions and parental consent requirements. The United Kingdom is debating stricter regulations. There's a global conversation happening right now about children's relationship with technology, and France is positioning itself as the leader willing to take bold action. What's particularly fascinating is how the tech companies are responding. Initially, platforms like Meta and TikTok pushed back hard, arguing that they've already implemented numerous safety features, parental controls, and age-appropriate content filters. They claimed that blanket bans are unnecessary and that existing tools, if properly used, can protect children. But as public opinion has shifted and more governments have signaled their support for restrictions, these companies have begun to change their tune. They're now talking about cooperation, about working with lawmakers to find solutions, about their commitment to child safety. Some cynics suggest this is purely self-preservation. They see the writing on the wall and want to have a seat at the table when new rules are written rather than having regulations imposed on them. The September 2026 implementation date is also strategic. It gives tech companies time to develop and test age verification systems. It allows schools and parents to prepare for the transition. And it sends a clear message that this isn't a reactionary political stunt. This is a carefully considered policy that France is committed to seeing through. The French Minister of Digital Affairs has been quoted saying that they're not trying to demonize technology, but rather to restore childhood to children, to give them space to develop their identities away from the constant pressure and manipulation of social media platforms. So what happens next? The world is watching France very carefully. If this ban is implemented successfully and if the predicted benefits materialize, if French children show improved mental health, better academic outcomes, stronger real-world relationships, then we could see a domino effect where country after country adopts similar policies. Social media as we know it could fundamentally change, split between adult platforms and a new generation of strictly regulated, child-safe alternatives. But if the ban proves unenforceable, if children is only circumvented, if it creates more problems than it solves, then it could set back the movement for tech regulation by years. This isn't just about France. This isn't just about social media. This is about a fundamental question that ESA defining our era. How do we protect children in a digital age while still preparing them for a digital future? How do we balance safety with freedom, protection with education, government responsibility with parental rights? France has chosen to answer these questions with decisive action, and by September 2026 we'll begin to see whether that choice was wise or misguided. What's certain is that the conversation about children and social media will never be the same. The debate has moved from should we do something to what exactly should we do and how far are we willing to go. And every parent, educator, policymaker, and tech executive around the world is paying attention, because what happens in France over the next few years might just determine the digital childhood of the next generation everywhere.